Miss the Saturday dance. 6 feet apart on the floor. Couldn't bear it with masks on. Don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd go to the club. Wash my hands at the door. Awfully different with masks on. Don't get around much anymore. Darling, I guess I'm scared, yes. Nevertheless, my love life is in a mess. Try to get me a date. Need a vaccine, that's sure. Often with masks on. Don't get around much anymore. Can you believe this? In the middle of Valentine's season, I mean, am I supposed to show up for a Valentine's date like this? Or maybe like this? Maybe like this? How about this? Oh, I know, like this. It has really ruined my love life. I don't know about you. Maybe you have a way to get around it, but you know, dancing 6 feet apart, dating with a mask on, maybe this. Still, that's not dating. I mean, the whole thing has changed, so we have to put up with it. It'll be over soon, I guess. Darling, I guess I'm scared, I confess. Nevertheless, my love life is in a big mess. Try to get me a date. Need a vaccine, that's for sure. Awfully different with masks on. Don't get around much anymore. Don't get around much. Don't get around much anymore. Thank you, thank you. Oh, I'm so glad to be back with you guys. This, I didn't know how many years it's been, but this is my 3rd year with this incredible group. So thank you always for being very kind to me and welcoming. And last year and the year before, we were at the St. Francis Hotel. And now we're here in your living room. This is good. And I hope everybody has something to drink. I won't tell you what's in this glass, but I'm drinking something. Get some champagne, get something out. And we really want you to enjoy today. But of course, we're also trying to raise some money. And I admire this group so much because those scholarships make such a difference. Think about the kids that have student debt and for years, they have to wrestle with it. You're providing scholarships and keep encouraging people to be in the PR field. And I think that's great. So the way we're raising money today is through a silent auction and a live auction. Now, the live auction we'll be doing later, right here, virtual, if you can believe that, on a Zoom call. It'll be the first ever. But in the meantime, there's also a silent auction, and that can be done at the website that's on your invitation, and you can sign in. You have to open an account, so give yourself a little bit of time, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But let me just say briefly what the 4 live auction items are. How about spending some time with some otters at the open zoo? I think it's going to be fun. And you can bring some friends along, and if you're an animal person. The second one, Pacific Grove 2-night stay. Oh, what a beautiful little cottage, and you can get away from it all. Don't we want to all get away from it all? And maybe there's still Netflix there. At least you can watch something. And then another, number 3, a weekend at Pajaro Dunes. I mean, when you see the picture, you're going to say, get me there right now. Transform me into that location. Finally, we've done this in the past, and it's so generous that this is also donated by a member of the group, Blue Angels Viewing Party. It's on a rooftop. There'll be a buffet. There'll be drinks. I might be there. It'll be fabulous. So make sure you bid on the live auction items, and I'll be doing that in a little bit. But before we do, we've got some information for you. I turn it back over to you, Molly.
I want to know, Donna, are you going to promise to be there for the viewing of the
And well, I should mention, we're going to do it and we'll do socially distanced if we need to, masks if we do. I mean, you see, I have a lot of masks here. So, but I'd love to be there. I love watching the Blue Angels. It's a San Francisco only experience.
It is.
I love it. That would be great, Donna. Okay. So thank you. Hello and welcome. I'm Molly Walker. We are recording a portion of today's event. So if you don't want to be recorded, you should remove your face. We have so many interesting things in store for you. But first, I'd like to thank all of our generous donors and sponsors, and also bidders on our silent auction site, which is we put it in the chat, 32auctions.com/SF, and there it is, SFPRRT. Excuse me, that's right, 2021, which will be open until 4 p.m. today.
Molly, let me say,
yes.
Molly, let me say, I opened an account just today. I followed the directions, did it in about 3 minutes, really, and got my account. Already bid on something. It was already outbid, so just get in there quick.
I know, I've already been outbid. I'm so mad. Anyway, if you haven't been there, it's easy. After 4 o'clock, you'll be notified if you won, and you should make payment as soon as possible. We'll make arrangements to get items to you once we receive your payment. Any questions, please check in with us. Today, we're featuring the iconic San Francisco drag actor, the woman, the whatever, Donna Sachet, who just treated us to a lovely song and will MC our live auction today. We'll be hearing later from Politico's, who's also with us today, Politico's California Playbook senior writer, Carla Marnucci, in a conversation with Roundtable board member, Sarah Siegel, with time for your questions. Okay, but first we're going to follow a roundtable tradition, and I've got a list of people, and it's alphabetical, so you'll know where you're coming. We'd love you to say your name, your company, and your expertise. So, half a sentence, right? So I'm Molly Walker. My company is Walker Communications in Oakland. I'm really good at newsletters and basically writing and editing. So the next person is my dear friend, Vivian.
Hi, everybody. Vivian Auslander, Lafayette, California. I'm retired now.
Okay. Hi, Vivian. Kathleen Brennan. Not yet. Okay. Laura Birch. I know she's here. Are you in, Laura? Okay.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I was
we
just muted. And I apologize. My name is Laura Birch, and I'm with DNA Communications, and I specialize in communications and writing.
Terrific. Okay. And then I'm going to just go through this, and if I miss you, you can speak up later. Sherry Cardo.
Hey everybody, Sherry Cardo here in beautiful Petaluma, California. I'm the communications director for Sonoma Land Trust, which is a nonprofit, so that means I do it all.
Thank you, Sherry. Jerry Corbett, you're muted. You're still muted, Jerry. Yeah.
Good morning, Jerry Corbett here. My firm is Red Flag, and I do crisis and coaching and media training and et cetera, et cetera. I also am an avid nature photographer, and feel free to bid if you'd like.
Thanks. Okay, thank you. Mary Curry.
Yeah, hi everybody. Happy almost Valentine's Day. My expertise is retirement and recovering from 2 separate knee replacements during COVID. I'm looking forward to doing a lot of walking. Good to see everybody.
So that's your expertise. Hi, Mary.
Yep.
Diane Fraser.
Diane Fraser, DEF Communications. I specialize in helping my clients tell their own stories in their own words, only better.
Hi, thanks, Diane. Phyllis Goodman.
Hi, Phyllis Goodman here. I'm a former board member and I'm a freelance writer specializing in healthcare communications. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Thank you. John Goodwin. Not yet. Hattie Hamlin.
Hi, you beat me to it, Mary. I'm also specializing in retirement, which is as retired as I'd hoped it would be. Lots of volunteer work and enjoying a second stint on the PR Roundtable board.
We're happy to have you. Pat Harden.
Hello, everybody. Great to see you all. I'm here in foggy Oakland, California, and I'm an independent consultant. Retired from my business, but still doing some work.
My friend Michaela Hayes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michaela Hayes. I'm in Piedmont, California, and I am just starting a new position as Vice President, Partnerships and Engagement with Alameda Health System Foundation.
Great. Thanks, Michaela. Mike Healy.
Hi, guys. Formerly with BART and still doing a lot of writing. I wrote a lot of articles for Oakland and Alameda magazines when they were still publishing. So anyway, I'm continuing to be active. Also playing a lot of tennis.
And you have your book in the auction.
Yes, and Mary, how are you? Glad to see you.
That's great. Brenda Kahn.
Hi, I'm retired from my, oops, am I muted? Oh.
Nope,
I'm retired from my long-time, many-decade career in government public relations, and I'm still writing and teach writing at the University of UC Berkeley in the summer, and available for writing projects. I'll make the boring interesting.
So my colleague, Ed Cameron, who is recapping today's event.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Ed Cameron. I'm here in San Francisco near Twin Peaks, and my firm is Cameron Communications, and I specialize in social impact and sustainability.
Cool. Maureen Knoll.
Oh, you're muted, Maureen. I think you're
She's
still
here.
muted.
Okay, I don't see her.
Try again, Maureen. There you go.
Okay, sorry, I hit the unmute button, but it didn't happen. Anyway, Maureen Knoll with San Francisco Ballet Auxiliary, and I recently got a logo for them approved, which I designed.
Oh.
Okay, John Knox.
Hi all, John Knox, Knox Communications, past chair of this illustrious organization. I specialize in newsletters, web content, and annual reports.
Thanks, John. Illustrious. I like that.
Hey, John, I love your hair.
We love it. We really love it. Janet Lynn.
Hello, everyone. Janet Lynn. One of my my post-retirement gigs is a literacy coach, and I can't be in the classroom right now, but I am actually tutoring one little girl on Zoom, and I'm also doing a read alouds to a kindergarten, also on Zoom. And I missed the view from the Westin St. Francis, but I'm loving the view of all of you today.
Janet has a wonderful walk on the offer on 32 auctions, so check that out. John McDowell.
Yeah, hi everyone. Down here in San Carlos with San Carlos Communications. And I specialize in multiple Twitter accounts where I interact with people like Carla. Carla, I'm DC Doozy, that's one of them. And I'm also looking to try to figure out how to get a cat filter here on Zoom. I just can't.
I'll volunteer again.
So, and Janet Lynn, we already did that. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Jerica Nevis, how do I say it?
Jerica Nervous. I am a senior manager of marketing communications.
President, Mr. Castro will now return to address the harm visited upon America's national security.
Somebody's radio's on.
For these events and the damage to our international reputation.
Turn that off. Can you? Thank you. Okay. Jerica, go ahead.
Jerica Nervous, senior manager of marketing communications at Larkin Street. All things marketing and communications, nonprofit organization as well, all hands on deck.
My colleagues discussed with you the many harms to our nation as a result of President Trump's conduct.
You need to turn off.
Are we Zoom bombed?
Is that a bomber?
Molly, you might consider muting everybody and then only the person you call upon.
Yeah, let's do that. Jay, can you mute everyone? Thank you. Okay. Sorry, everybody.
But you have to unmute yourself, Molly.
Yeah.
I miss you, Blodwin. Hi, okay. Ellen Newman. Are you there? She might not be. Give her one moment.
Hi, also like so many of us, retired, but writing for hiddeninsight.com, my travel and photography blog. And nice to see everybody. And I've seen a few of you pop up in other venues where I've been in the last few days. So hi to Pat.
Thank you, Ellen. Terry Peckham.
Great, greetings everybody, and greetings from the marina in San Francisco. Despite what my name tag says, I'm actually Terry Peckham, not Bart Draper. But I am head of marketing communications for a company called Bettler Toledo Rainin. Do a lot of things, everything writing from that. I think right now my specialty is multitasking. And great to see everybody.
Yeah, David Perry. Hi, Terry.
Terry, why is your name showing as Bart Draper?
He's incognito. You can fix it, Terry, if you want. Bart, I just called somebody. David Perry, are you here? Okay, then let's, oh my gosh, look at Mary Curry. You guys are too much. Okay, Jen Potts.
Hi, everybody. I am the interim communication director for the Archdiocese of San Francisco, and that does mean I'm doing less percentage of PR and more of the multitasking thing that Terry very well identified as my job right now.
Thank you. Sarah Siegel.
Hi, Sarah Siegel. Siegel Communications was acquired January 1st by Greenbrier Partners. So we are now Greenbrier Siegel. Greenbrier is a crisis communications firm, and I actually met the folks that ended up buying me at an event hosted by the PR Roundtable. So this has really helped my business and my career. That said, all you retirees, if you have clients that you want to send my way, we're growing strong, and I love to talk to you. So looking forward to chatting with Carla in a bit.
Yay, Sarah. Shout out.
That's awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Is Sandra here? No. All right, Blodwin Tartar.
So I'm Blodwin Tartar, coming to you today from San Francisco's Japantown. I am Professor Emerita at Golden Gate University, which means I am not teaching full-time, but I'm still involved with the university. And my current focus is on writing, teaching business cases, and doing some research on whether advertising for social casino games affects people's intention to gamble.
Okay. Meg Walker. Are you unmuted, Meg? I think you're here. I thought I saw you. Okay. Amy Weiss. Okay, and did we miss anyone else?
Jay Rooney, co-chair, adjunct faculty at Golden Gate University, specializing in content and messaging strategy, and currently accepting new clients. And thank you all for joining.
Thank you for having us. We're back.
Hold on, hi.
Deborah, go ahead.
I've been like the long lost Deborah Charlesworth. I am a former board member, and I'm very excited to be here. And it's so nice to see all these familiar faces. I am still at BioMarin running corporate communications, and I do all that internal, external, crisis, digital. That's, yeah. So a lot of multitasking. Anyway, it's good to see you guys.
Okay, thank you. Oh, so we're going to mute everybody again. Sorry. Anyway, so today's event benefits the Philip and McCombs Scholarship Program.
Molly, you're muted.
Well, so you missed all that. I'm sorry. It was great. Okay. I'm talking about the Philip and McCombs Scholarship Program, which each year, Bay Area. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry, everybody. Here we go. Each year, Kathleen Brennan, who is with us today, invites Bay Area college students to submit applications and through a rigorous process overseen by a committee of roundtable members. We award scholarships to a cohort of deserving students studying public relations and related fields in colleges around the Bay Area and Northern California. Philip McCombs, who you may or may not know, for whom the scholarship program is named, was a co-founder of the roundtable. We're very excited to be hosting the marvelous political writer and digital influencer Carla Marnucci a bit later in the program. But if we haven't lost her in a Zoom room, I'd like to ask Carla just to wave your hand and say hi.
Hi, it's so great to be with all of you. I've worked with many of you over the years and to support your scholarship program too. So I'm really excited about our conversation today.
Thrilled you're here, Carla.
Thanks.
You're encouraged to post your reactions to today's event on social media. Our roundtable Twitter handle is @SFPR Roundtable, and our hashtag is #SFPRRT, and it's in the chat. Maybe we'll put it there again. So during the Valentine's live auction, we'll just give you some instructions. Bidders will place all bids in the chat box during the live bidding. Please be sure your real name is showing, and maybe you can change it, or maybe we'll know who you are and you can still be incognito. If for any reason we miss seeing your bid or it isn't acknowledged, please unmute yourself and voice your bid.
We don't want to miss any bids.
I'm sorry?
We don't want to miss any bids.
We don't. Winners will be contacted following the bidding. Payment options for the live auction include personal check, Venmo, we now have an account, and possibly payment through 32 auctions. And now, immediate past chair Brenda Kahn will be assisting the incomparable, irrepressible drag actor Donna Sachet, who's been with the roundtable at our fundraising events in recent years. Thanks so much for coming back, Donna, and take it away, Donna and Brenda.
Thank you. The third year in a row. I don't know if you're realizing what you've done here, but you started a trend. I thought I was going back to the St. Francis, but here we are in the living room, and it doesn't really matter. As someone said, the faces are here, the enthusiasm is here, and your support for the scholarships is here. So I'm happy to help with this. We're going to do this live auction. Before we do that, I want to just emphasize that the silent auction continues until 4 o'clock today. So after this is over, you get a cup of coffee, maybe eat lunch, you say, well, let me check on my bid. So go to the silent auction page again and continue to bid on those things until 4 o'clock. Remember, if you look in the comment line there on the side, is everybody getting their comments there? Because there's some important instructions there. As a matter of fact, before this event even started, we had $2,000 in the bank because of the silent auction. So let's get it up to the next level. Let's get up to 3,000 and then 4,000. And it will really help us with the raising money and getting everybody involved. Because I want everybody here to be involved in some way with either silent auction or live auction bidding. Here's some of the items I'm going to go through real quickly. We've got a night at the Berkeley City Club. We've got walking tours and roundtable walking enthusiasts of San Rafael's Dominican University. We've got custom photo prints by Jerry Corbett, who's here with us today. We've got sought after fine wines and champagne. We've got books and generous gift certificates. We've got kitchen accoutrements. Who cooks? Somebody is. We've got fine jewelry. I've been looking at that, and gloves and more. So the bidding ends at 4 o'clock, but that doesn't mean you can't be checking it while things are going on here or while you take a little break and bid all the way up to 4 o'clock. Then we'll officially close. And we're finding that this 32 auction is really a great way to manage the auction items. So I'm going to be checking the comment section myself once in a while because Brenda is my Vanna White today. Can you picture her as Vanna White? I'm seeing her in a sequin dress, and it's hard to picture, but
Oh no, I should have. I didn't.
She's our Vanna White. You listed some of the items there. We're going to shout out the Pacific Grove House auction item donated by Sarah Siegel. Now that is coming up in the live auction. So there's just all kinds of possibilities for you to participate today. I think it's time for our live auction. Now, I've never done a live auction on a Zoom call. Some say it's impossible, but when the PR roundtable wants to do it, it's going to happen. So you'll be bidding through the comment section. And if we miss something, I mean, Vanna's not perfect. So if she misses something, you can just unmute for a second and say, Donna, wait, I've got a bid. and we'll look over there and make sure we get your bid. There'll be minimums, which I'll announce at each one as it comes up. There will be just some shenanigans as we go along. So to review, the 4 live auction items are the Oakland Zoo experience with the otters, and we'll give the details as we get to each one of these. The weekend at Pajaro Dunes, and that was donated by Pat Harden. Thank you, Pat. The 2-night stay at Pacific Grove near Monterey, that is also donated by a member of the group, Sarah Siegel. And then the Blue Angels viewing party, which I will be at evidently this year. And I remember not to wear this because you can't be singing the same outfit. That's going to be for Fleet Week, the Blue Angels, and that's also donated by a member, Terry Peckham. So thank you so much. All the details of those will be announced as we do each item. Oh, I hope this works. It'll be the first time ever. It'll go down in history books. But we're gonna try it. I think it'll work here. We've been rehearsing like for minutes. I mean, it's gonna be great. All right. Payment options on the live auction only include Venmo, personal check, or you can do the typical things through 32 auctions. So it gives you a little extra options there. Okay, Brenda, I've got to hear from you. I need to hear your voice. Are you with us, Brenda?
Hi, I'm here. Can you?
Hey. Oh, I'm sorry. I called you Brenda. Vanna, are you with us?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to lend you a sequin dress next year.
Let me ask, does everybody have their chat feature on? Because you got to be looking at the chat column over at the right. So make sure you click on chat, and that way you can bid. Just put you don't have to say your name. We'll see your name. You just have to put your amount there.
Yes.
And just bid it and send it to everyone.
Yeah.
So 2 is everyone, and just put your bid amount there.
Typically, silent live auctions go pretty rapidly, but this is not, Sotheby's or something. We're going to go slow enough to make sure we get all the bids. And, if you really want an item, bid high, and then you'll just shut everybody up and we'll move on to the next item. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That's what we want it to be. And we'll go from there. So let's test this out. The first live auction item is the Oakland Zoo. Now, if you've been to the Oakland Zoo, it's an incredible zoo. First of all, the way they care for the animals in a very, very loving way. They're in their natural environments. And this is a special opportunity for you to touch and pet and watch adorable otters. It's just utterly enjoyable. No, I shouldn't do that. These otters have names, by the way: Wyatt, Ginger, and Rose. Sounds like the Golden Girls to me, but anyway. Then an extra bonus with this Oakland Zoo trip is you get to scratch not just the otters, but the African squirrel tortoises. That's what I know. Spurred tortoises. Anyway, some kind of turtles, but they're all, these turtles sometimes get to be 100 years old. I don't know how old these ones are, but you get to scratch them. They love to be scratched. Don't worry, it's not something that's torture. This is a bid for party of up to 4. Now, I bet you we could get a kid or 2 in there as well. So I'm just saying, but this is the Oakland Zoo. I want to thank the Oakland Zoo for participating with us. And what an opportunity. Have your children even been to the zoo? Have you been to the zoo? I mean, it's a great way to see animals in their natural habitat. So we're going to start that bidding now. If you love animals and you want to.
No, we have a bid already. 350 from Sarah Siegel.
Are you kidding? The minimum was 125. Don't tell them.
Oh, wait, we got our first one at 100 from Jan Potts, and we got 300, 350, 400 from Mary Curry.
Wait, 400 from who?
Mary Curry.
Okay, you got to keep track of this because it's very exciting. Okay, $400. We must really that's $100 practically for each of the otters. That's great, and the turtle, of course. Okay, 400 is a great bid. We could keep going if you want to. Anybody want to?
425. We got 425 from John.
425. Somebody really wants to sit there with the otters. They don't converse. They just sit there and let you pet them, but it'll be good. The turtle, I can't say whether his head will be out or in, but when you scratch him, something happens. I'll tell you that. Okay, anybody else? 425 is our current bid. Anybody over 425? We'll take 450. We'll take 450. Anybody? 425 going once. 425 going twice.
Oh, wait, 475.
Yeah, 475.
This group drags this auction out every year. I don't know. You just want to torture me, don't you? But it's good. We're raising a lot of money. Okay.
I'll go an even 500.
What's that?
I'll go an even 500. I'll outbid myself.
Is that Mary Curry? Who is that, Mary?
Yeah.
Now she knows how to do. She unmuted because she wants this little vacation thing here.
Wow.
$500 going once.
hang on one second. I just want to ask Hattie Hamlin, who works at the Oakland Zoo as a volunteer. Hattie, do you feed the otters, or what happens with those otters? Is she there?
Yeah.
On mute.
Here. And you can toss food. You do not want to be in the enclosure with them. They have very sharp teeth, but you can toss food through the fencing in the night house. You get to see where nobody else gets to see. And there'll be a
actually
training
touch
session.
them, but you're there. Okay.
They are hilarious. They are so much fun. And we'll make sure it's a real experience. And the African spurred tortoises are also really fun. Apparently they love to be scratched. And they're just some of our zookeepers take their lunch and sit with the tortoises. So it's really a blast. And this, just to tell you, this in the live auction that the zoo has as a fundraiser has gone for as much as $2,200. So
wow. So I mean, it's a
very popular event.
unusual event, and you bring a friend and just have a great time.
Yeah.
It's a party or a party of 4, so you can get 4 people to go with you. So any increase on the $500 bid we have?
I want to do a shout out to John Goodwin, who just joined us, and somebody else just joined us from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission.
Wonderful, good.
If you just joined us, turn on your chat feature so you can bid on the auction and see how other people are bidding. So that's how you bid, is through the chat function for the 2 people who just joined.
Okay. Boy, you are a good banner. You're hired for next year too. It's your event. You can do whatever you want.
Okay, let's close it out. Mary.
We've got $500 going once. $500 going twice. Sold for $500. Yay. Okay, I think this is actually going to work. I didn't believe there would be. I think it's actually going to work here. Okay, we're going to go to the next item. Now, some of you people have really been talking about this because it's a very special donation by Sarah Siegel, who is part of the organization again. So let me just give you a slide that will give you an idea of what you're going to be bidding on. These are really incredible items. Here we go. It is a little Pacific Grove getaway. Look at that. Don't you want to be there right now? I mean, it's just so cute, and what a getaway. And the details of the trip, I'm blocking them, aren't I? Okay, I'm going to have to rearrange that. Which way? Okay, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath historical home. It's 1 block from restaurants, the Lighthouse, or Lighthouse Avenue. It's perfect for a couple, for kids, and dog friendly. Doesn't that make it right there? Dog friendly. So bring your 7 dogs. No, not that many, but bring a dog or 2 and bring your family and just get away from it all. Oh, don't we all need that with this COVID thing going on and on and on? Oh, I see a bid there. I think I see a bid. Yes, we have a bid for $200. And I haven't finished talking about it yet. We have several bids. There was 200, 300, 350. Would you slow down here? It is like Sotheby's right here. Okay, 350 is the current bid. That's a great bid. If you see me using these glasses, it's just a prop. Okay, 350 is the current bid. Are you keeping up with this, Brenda? I can't believe it.
Yeah. We got
$500.
Me.
Okay, who is that bidding that? Okay, Walker.
Walker MX.
Walker outbid
Is that Meg Walker, I think.
Meg Walker outbid you at $550. Now, does Meg have any money? That's what we need to verify here. Does she have any money? Because we don't want to be. No, I'm sure she does. I'm glad that you're all participating at this level. We went into this side auction group, and now look at this live auction. Is that set $575? This is incredible. This would never happen in the general public. It's because you're PR people and you want to support the scholarships. I think it's great. Don't forget, this is like walking distance to the Monterey Bay, to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which I've been to.
Whoa. Just in. It can be 4 nights if you want. Arrive on a Friday and leave on a Monday, Sarah said. Sarah.
Wow. That's why the bidding just went up to $650. Thank you, Pat. $650. If you've been there before, like, tell your friends how wonderful it is. It's steps away from Lovers Point Beach. Oh, there we go. We're going to start something now. The Pacific Ocean's right there. Del Monte Forest is there. What a great, oh my goodness, what's really going up? I could just shut up for a while. Let's see, that's your bid. $750 is the current bid. And, you know, it's hard to put a value on this. It's a private home. Look how cute it is, a little cottage. I mean, it's just adorable. And inside, you'll find, as I said, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, historical. It's just beautiful. It's known as a butterfly town, the Pacific Grove is. So you'll meet people $800. Oh my God.
Anna went to $825.
And Hattie, $8.50. Don't let Brenda take this because she's organizing the event. Good for you, Pat Hattie. $8.50. Okay, how can you be bidding and keeping track of this too, Vanna? I don't know how you do it. But we're now at whoa, wait a minute. $8.50. Love Pacific Grove. Somebody said, oh, they're great restaurants there. Well, good. You're not going to want to cook in that little cottage. That's for sure. Okay, we're at $8.50. I'm going to stop it there if we're not going any further. Passion Fish is one of the best restaurants out here. $8.50 going once. $8.50 going twice.
There's 2 bidders at $8.50.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Vanna, you guys.
Yeah, we got Pat Harden at 8:50 and Hattie Hammond. Somebody's got to go up, I guess.
Oh dear. Okay, which one of you is
Or Donna, if Sarah wants to give 2 different weekends, it's up to Sarah.
I don't know if she would do that. I mean, that's a lot to ask. Are you on this call? Oh, Ellen Newman says sell it twice. Well, if it was your cottage, we'd. Oh, she says 2 weekends. Thank you, Sarah.
2 weekends?
Weekend.
Oh, wow.
How generous of you. I mean, do you ever stay at this cottage? I mean, 2 weekends. We have, I'm just close it out there. Going once, going twice, sold. 2 people get it for $850. We just raised $1,700. I can do math. $1,700 on that one item. That is incredible. I want to thank you, Sarah, for donating it, offering the second weekend. And our top bidders, do you have their names, Brenda?
I got Hattie Hamlin and Pat Harden, right?
Oh, wonderful. Wow. Okay, and if you need a little, if you do the 4-day weekend, you might want a little entertainment during the weekend. So give me a call. I'll come by and entertain. Okay, so if you want some entertainment, okay. Now the next item. This is going so fast, and actually it's going much better than I thought. I thought we'd be pulling our hair out by now, didn't you, Brenda?
Yeah, really.
No, it's going.
Well,
well.
I'm disappointed I got outbid, but okay.
Oh, listen, don't be bitter now. We hate bitter people. Okay, our next item is Pajaro Dunes. Look at that. Now, if you want to get away from it all, look at that view. Look at that incredible, which way to go? Here, look at that incredible ocean right there. The waves coming in. Can you smell the ocean? Can you hear the waves crashing? It is a 3-night stay in an oceanfront condo, a few steps from the beach. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a chef's kitchen. A great retreat for hardworking PR peeps. Do we have any of those on the call? Yeah, we do. That would be the thing that we'd want to do. Now, this is also, it's in Monterey. So you're again close to a lot of things I mentioned before. This one has a chef's kitchen. So if you want to cook up a storm, you can. It's so close to the beach, you'll see it and you'll walk right to it. And what a getaway that you can bring. Well, it's 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. So you can bring, I would think like 18 people would be the maximum. No, I'm just teasing. No, bring 4 or 5 people. I don't know. And maybe a couple of friends would be joining you there. Have a party right on the beach. And when I go by my yacht, I'll stop off and say hello. Okay, this is valued at a high price, but let's see where we're going to start. Who's going to jump in there and do the first bid? I'm just
Got 500 already, Terry.
Terry, thank you. See,
I don't see that. Oh, okay, that was for that one. Okay, Terry, great.
Gotta help you out,
wait for
Vanna,
certain
sorry.
items. They want to see them, and they're going to bid on that. So we have a $500 bid just out of the blue. So shall we just let? No, we're just not going to let him have it. Lord, $650 and now $700. Jan Potts is jumping in there. Is that your first bid, Jan? I'm glad you woke up for this part of the auction. That's very good. Jan is bidding $700. Anybody else going to increase on $700? We'll go in $50 levels. So $750. Anybody?
Let's just ask Pat Harden, who donated this. Do you have anything to say about what's theirs to see right over there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're right between Carmel, Monterey, and Santa Cruz. There's tons of great wineries in Santa Cruz and Monterey.
Yeah.
Beach walks, lots of hikes, craft beer for anybody who's in the beer camp. Yeah, and it's usually it's a pristine beach. The unit sleeps comfortably, 4 people.
Oh, 18 was a little high. Okay.
18 is a little.
4 people is great. Thank you.
It's a private unit. It's not a rental. So,
I love that.
We try to maintain it for you guys at PR Roundtable. And Terry's a visitor, and Hattie, I think everybody's
and
had that.
Hattie says it's so peaceful, a great place to run or hike on the beach, lovely deck. Oh, that's wonderful. These personal recommendations. We're at $800 right now, and that's a bid from Jen Potts. 800 is a great bid, but we will certainly take more bids if anybody would like to outbid her for this item. Let's see here. We've got Hattie, wait a minute. Yeah, Jan Potts is our top bid, $800. Brenda, do you sense any more bids coming through there? I know you have a second sense for this.
No, let's not feel sorry for Jan. You can outbid her, people, if anybody
Well,
wants.
they're
to.
afraid to hurt her feelings. You know, she can be very bitter if she loses, so we don't want that.
Working hard. She does deserve it. She's one of those hardworking PR types who deserves it,
Yeah.
actually.
Well, maybe they're not that hardworking. I don't know. Come on, somebody bid on this. Anybody, any increase on 800? I'm going to go with this really quickly because we've got a lot to carry on with. We've got a speaker coming up. So 800 going once. 800 going twice. Sold to Jan Potts for $800. You got it. You got it. And you're going to relax there. You probably never wear shoes the entire time you're there. It'll be great. Okay. Are you happy, Jan? Where are you? Are you happy?
I'm thrilled. I've
great.
heard about this house for so long and could never get in on it. So
you snuck in.
couldn't come at a better time. Thank you.
I think it's just wonderful that you did that bid there. And do you have any friends you can bring, or is it just going to be you by yourself? Do you have a
I'm thinking just me, all by myself, lock the door.
You're going to spend one night in one bedroom and that's next night in the other bedroom. It'll be great. Okay. We're now on our final auction item. Now, I would say this is in San Francisco only kind of event. And last year, unfortunately, we were in the middle of the COVID crisis and it happened like sort of indirectly, but you couldn't view it. I mean, why would you, there was nothing to view. So it went to waste. And the winners from last year, we're going to honor that for you. You can come this year as well. So last year's winners were Jerry Corbett and Maureen Knoll. So I hope you know that you can go this year and be a part of this as well. This is for the, you guessed it, the Blue Angels right there. There they are. It's a really a treat. I've done several things with the Blue Angels organization, but I've never just had a rooftop viewing. I mean, isn't that incredible? Here's a few of the details. It is donated again by a member, which is just great. And that member is Terry Peckham. It is a roof deck that you're going to view it from. It's on Saturday, October, what does that say? The 8th, I believe, or 9th? 9th. Noon to 4 is when it actually happens. This is in the marina, the home itself. It's a few blocks behind the viewing stand. So it's just as good as the viewing stand. Enjoy the show on top of this 4-story building with unobstructed views. So this offers for 2 adults and a couple of family members, you can check on pets, and includes hors d'oeuvres and beer and wine and soft drinks and a buffet. I mean, what more could you want? I mean, and I'm going to be there this year. That's what more you want. It'll be great. So we'll make any accommodations we need to make by October. I mean, who knows what'll be happening then with the COVID thing, but if it's still happening, we'll work out social distancing. We'll put you all, each individual tubes over you or something. I don't know what we'll do, but we will figure out a way for this viewing to happen this year. Last year's winners get to go, Jerry and Maureen, and this year's winners will have a great time too. I love that. I mean, all the food and drink, and you're up there, and we'll get you an Uber home so you don't have to worry about that. It'll be great. All right. So I'd like to see an opening bid of $300 on this, because I mean, it's just, I mean, the food, the art, just the viewing, the experience, the thing, the postcards you can send your mother after
Wally
that.
Walker.
$300 right there. Yes, $350 right there. It's going to go fast, I can tell. Now this last year, every year that I think it's all 3 years that I've done this, it's been donated, and it just goes like crazy. Some people wait to the end. I say going once and then they jump in, going twice, then jump in. Okay, don't do that. Don't work me that hard this year. We have $375. Oh, Molly, you're going to climb up there, $25 a time. Okay, whatever. That's all right. $375.
I have a word from Terry Peckham here. Does he have what's on the menu, Terry?
Look at that.
Well, we haven't worked up the menu yet, but it will be awesome. And yeah, I think everybody that's come has had just a fabulous time, and it's just a really unique event. Yeah. And it's for a great cause.
And if you're thinking about, joining and becoming a pilot, this would be a great way to see up close and personal what they do.
Very close. They fly very close.
Do you feel the vibrations?
You do. Yes. Oh, obvious. Yes, definitely.
I'll make sure my wig is well attached.
You do that. Yes.
All right. $450 is the current bid. $450. Kathleen Brennan. Okay.
I think Terry's viewing is worth more than the otters at the zoo, so we got to get that up over 500. Sorry.
Yeah, and you can't bring the otters with you. I'm sorry, that would be incredible. Okay. Now the current bid and the high bid is $450. Brenda, I'm gonna ask you to, are there people you think should be bidding on this? Call their names out, embarrass them. Go ahead. I don't care. It's a wonderful item. I mean, this.
Well, I have to say, I've been there in the past and it's really a peak experience, pun intended, but in a little, it's really been one of the highlights.
And you felt the vibration of the planes? It's that close?
Oh my God, they're like right on top of you. And it's just such a, as you said, such a San Francisco experience to be there.
Reach out and touch them, but you don't. So that's.
Oh, wait, we just
500 from somebody called Molly Walker. Does anybody know her? Oh, that's right. Molly, good. Molly, as if you don't have enough to do, now you're gonna have to, but October, you'll be free by then. Okay, October. This is $500 is our current bid. I want to thank you again for generously donating this. It's been a great fundraiser each year, and this is our final auction item. So if you haven't bid on anything yet, jump in there. Don't be left out. And you'll be at the water cooler on Monday, and somebody will say, "I should have bid on. Oh, I should have bid." Okay, this is your last chance. $500 going once. Oh, $500 going twice. You guys are going to tease me, I know, because there's somebody going to jump in there. They've got their finger on the button right now. You can double it. If you bid 1,000, you'll probably get it. I'm just telling you right now. $500. We had it once. We had it twice. We had it 3 times. It's sold for $500. So Molly, you finally won something. I mean, your luck's changing. Isn't that great?
So, Donna, what we won overall on the live auction portion of this is.
Are you adding it up?
Yeah, $3,500 so far. And the silent auction, we've got 2,000. So we need to keep on bidding on the silent auction.
Did you? So the live auction alone was how much?
3,500. If I do my math right.
That's worth a little confetti, don't you think? Yay! Yeah. I planned that. I had to do it. Okay. All right.
And Donna, there's a second blue auction item too on the silent auction, so you can go there and bid as well. I can't wait, Terry. I can't wait to come. Thank you.
Molly wants to see some
Blue Angel.
Congratulations. The Blue Angels, right?
Molly wants to see you there. She wants to have friends there. So that was actually much smoother than I thought it would be. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for supporting students that are interested in this field and by giving them scholarships. And thank you for being the diverse San Francisco that we are all about. This event, when you look at the faces out there, all the different specialties you were talking about earlier, we keep this city not just surviving, but thriving. Keep doing what you're doing. And thank you for having me back for the 3rd year in a row. And if you can take a vote later, I would be willing to come back, I think. So just let me know. I just have had a great time with you, and I salute San Francisco.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. That was marvelous. Thank you, everybody, for your generosity. Just great. Boy, I'm very excited and excited. I'm so wound up. Anyway, thank you so much for everyone for your bids. The winners will be contacted in the next few days, and there we go. So we're good. Congratulations to all our winning bidders. And we'd also like to salute our donors. You all should be paying attention now. This is quite wonderful. Our gold level donor, or even platinum, I'm not even sure, was Pat Harden, which is always our very generous contributor. Our silver was Daryl and Davis, John McDowell, and Jan Potts. Bronze donor was Hattie Hamlin and Paula Reinman. Friend level was Mary Curry, Blodwin Tarter, and myself. And supporter level was Kathleen Brennan. And finally, we would like to happily announce the Pat Harden 2021 Scholarship, honoring member and generous longtime donor, Pat Harden. Thank you, Pat. Pat, are you there? You want to just acknowledge that you heard that?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you all so much. I'm just really privileged to be able to support the scholarships, and it's a way to give back to a career that's been so good to me. So I'm really happy to support it. And my goodness, I've never had anything named in my honor. Well, other than a business, but that wasn't exactly the same thing. So
thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly, and board and everybody. I'm very honored and delighted to support scholarships.
Thank you.
Well, we're thrilled. I mean, you've been a generous donor for so long, as so many are, but we really are very excited about this. So thank you. So again, if you're tuning in, we are recording a portion of today's event. Welcome to the second part of today, which is our 3rd annual Valentine's Party and Fundraiser. And next up is our keynoter, veteran journalist Carla Marnucci, who is senior writer of Politico's California Playbook. a daily compendium of California politics and government that Carla produces with her partner, Jeremy B. White. Our guests' knowledge of the latest news and many of the inside stories that are part of the Bay Area, the state, and even the nation, the politics and government is astounding. We're very, very much looking forward to her conversation with our esteemed colleague, Sarah Siegel, who is the founder and CEO of Siegel Communications, which is a boutique PR agency with a depth of expertise in consumer, lifestyle, e-commerce, and retail communications. And now it's called Greenbrier Siegel. And Sarah, you can correct me if I got anything wrong there. Sarah also serves as the Roundtable's membership chair. Following the conversation, which will go about 30 minutes, we have a little tiny bit more time now, which is great. We'll take time for questions, which you may place in the chat box. Now I give you Sarah Siegel and the marvelous Carla Marnucci. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Molly. It's a pleasure to be able to do this today with you, Carla. I just want to put in Carla's Twitter feed into the chat. So everybody who hasn't signed up for her daily newsletter has the ability to do that because there's a link there. And for anybody who's not familiar with Carla, I think that she's probably one of the most in the know people about California politics, entertainment, anything that you can imagine. She's probably touched it in some way. Carla, I would love to start things out with maybe even just a basic question of what are you writing about today?
Well, first of all, let me just say, Sarah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I have worked with a lot of you folks over the years. What you all do is so important to what we do in the media. I need you as much as you need me. So feel free anytime to hit me with stuff. I'm always happy to hear story ideas and thoughts and tips. So there goes. Today, this week, it's all about impeachment. But it's also all about Gavin Newsom and the potential recall in California. We cover politics at the California Playbook. And for those of you who don't know, is a daily sort of must-read briefing of everything that goes on in California, from Silicon Valley down to Hollywood. We do cannabis news. We do the whole 9 yards, and we basically give you a rundown of all the top stories in California that are going on any particular day. And you can sign up for free and get it in your inbox. But the bottom line is, today, everybody in California politics is sort of obsessed with what's going on in Washington, but we're also obsessed with, is Gavin Newsom going to be recalled here in California? Those are two of the big issues that I'm dealing with as we speak on deadlines today.
Can you talk a little bit about how is Gavin Newsom even acknowledging the call for his recall?
This recall is going to be the biggest national story probably in politics this year. Now that Trump is gone and he's not on Twitter and he's not on social media, and those clicks aren't coming, national political folks are looking for something that kind of drives the traffic and drives the interest. And it is going to be Gavin Newsom. He has a target on his back from Republicans who want to take him out, and they are collecting the signatures as we speak in California. This is the most populous state. It's the world's 5th largest economy. So a lot is at stake here. He was supposed to be up for election in 2 years, but it looks like we're going to be having a recall election this year. A lot of you may remember when a guy named Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor in 2003. He was the world's top bodybuilder and action hero at the time. And because of a recall in 60 days, he took over as governor, start to finish. So the drama is on here in California, and Newsom is the guy in the center ring. And it's going to be interesting to watch for those of you, those of us from San Francisco have been watching him for a long time. I've covered him since he was a parking and traffic commissioner in San Francisco. Wow. And now he is somebody who the Republicans really have a target on his back now. And this recall, it looks like, is going to qualify, and the election will probably happen this year.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, Mike. Absolutely.
Is this a strictly partisan move?
That's an interesting thing. It was started, there's been 6 recall attempts on Gavin Newsom almost since the day he took office. But this one has managed to, catch. in part because the Republicans have driven it. Yes, they're the primary drivers of it. But, you know, look, this pandemic is taking a huge hit on everybody in government. You know, we've all been here for a year inside. People are upset about the vaccines. People are upset about schools being closed. There's 6 million, you know, public school kids in California, and the parents are dealing with that. You know, childcare, all of that goes with it. Seniors are dealing with it. So yeah, Republicans are behind it. It is a partisan thing in a way. But the bottom line is you've got a lot of Democrats, we're told, and independent voters that are signing those recall petitions.
Is it a multitude of things that kind of put this target on his back, or is there something?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was doing fine until, you know, just last year. We went to his State of the State address around this time, and it was, you know, California's economy is going gangbusters, everything's great. Then in March, around March 13th, that stay-at-home order hit and everything went south. People got very upset about the closing of businesses. You all have been affected by that, I'm sure. But and maybe a lot of your clients have too, particularly if they're personal care businesses, that kind of thing. These people are angry about these businesses being closed this many months. It's not, a lot of that stuff is not really in Newsom's control. I mean, he's trying to control the pandemic. He's trying to get vaccines out right now. And I got to tell you, I mean, this is, we've talked to, for instance, Governor Gray Davis, one of the former governors here, and he said, I don't think there's ever been a governor in California who has faced so many disasters at one time. And the pandemic is like a historically crazy disaster that politicians are having a hard time dealing with. So that's what's going on with him. I mean, everything was going great in California. The economy was going gangbusters. And as of last March, it all screeched to a halt, and people are not happy about it.
Another question, who do they want to put in his place? I mean, it's such a gargantuan job. Who could do it?
Hey, folks, can you put your questions in the chat, just so we're not talking over each other, please? Thank you.
Let me just deal with that first. I can tell you folks, if this actual recall happens, this is going to be crazyville in California, because to get on the ballot, like any of your clients can get on the ballot, by the way, because it takes 60 to 100 signatures and $4,000 to get on the ballot. We could probably auction that off right now. You could all be running for governor later this year. That low qualification is the same as in 2003 when there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was no GoFundMe. I mean, my cat in an hour can probably raise $4,000 on GoFundMe. Social media has changed the whole thing. So last time around, we saw 135 people run for governor in 2003, including porn stars, including Larry Flint, including child actors. There was a whole range of nutty people running for governor, including Governor Schwarzenegger. But this time around, there's probably going to be 1,000 people running for governor, and you're going to see crazy Bill. So yeah, who could replace him? There's already a parade of Republicans who are running or are about to run. One of them is the former mayor of San Diego, Kevin Falconer, who's already declared. Another one is a guy named John Cox, who is a Republican businessman who ran against Newsom last time around. He was beaten in a landslide, but he's running again. He's a millionaire. And there's a few other Republicans out there that are going to try, but you're going to see a range of people. You might see movie stars. You might see tech people. You might see business, famous business people. I've seen on Twitter, people saying, hey, Eva Longoria should run. Kanye West should run. And that's why it's going to be crazy, Bill, because essentially whoever gets the most votes, you don't need a majority to win. It's, if Kanye West, for instance, got 25% of the vote, and that was more than anybody else, there's your next governor.
Do you, if you had a crystal ball, what would you predict the outcome to be?
I mean, I think, look, this is still an overwhelmingly Democratic state, and it's going to be very hard. When there is a recall ballot, you get 2 questions on the ballot. And getting people to turn out for these elections is going to be very, very difficult in the first place. It's already hard enough in a presidential election to get people to turn out. So a recall is a very special election, only those most interested. And that's why there's a problem for Gavin Newsom, because the ones most motivated to vote may be the ones who hate him the most, right? At the same time, it's a really democratic state. You know, the Republicans are down to 27% registration. So people will vote. Do you want the first part of the ballot is, do you want to recall Governor Gavin Newsom? Yes or no? And if you vote yes, then you decide on the list of 100 and whatever candidates. I think most people think that he will beat that because there are far more Democrats than Republicans here in the state, but they got to turn out to vote. And that's the big question.
Let's switch gears a little bit and we'll come back to Gavin because Gavin's always really interesting. I'd just like to know a little bit more about your experience in covering Kamala Harris and, you know, how she is maybe changing the perception of, you know, what the White House looks like and is what she's doing.
Yeah, Kamala Harris is another one who we've covered since she first ran for district attorney in San Francisco. I mean, she's a great communicator. She's had a whole step. All of these folks, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, have something in common, which is that a staff of communicators behind them. This is what you folks do, that get out their message every day, that are consistent in that message. She's always been a professional in that. She's got a great all-American story. You know, born in Oakland, raised in Berkeley, the child of immigrant parents. Went to historically Black college, and she has been somebody who understands the press. Her relationship with the press has always been pretty good, although she's been kind of cautious in dealing with the press in the sense of sometimes she has not taken positions on really, really controversial things. She has managed to navigate as a woman of color and somebody who has been a landmark, you know, groundbreaker. She's shattered so many glass ceilings along the way. To watch her get where she is today has just been fascinating. To watch her get sworn in, I think, for a lot of women was a moment because she's somebody from the Bay Area and somebody who we've watched for a long time. I think in a way, Gavin Newsom is going to be watching that and watching her success. She's on the cover of every magazine. She is now, you know, the most powerful woman in the most powerful nation on earth. That's quite a moment for, I think, the Bay Area and for women in the Bay Area. And let me just say that, you know, since I started covering her, since I started covering Gavin, I started with the Chronicle back in the late 80s. And let me date myself. And I've been covering politics since, you know, the beginning of the 90s. And covering politics has really changed in the sense of how politicians deal with us. I mean, Bill Clinton, when he was president here and came to California more than 70 times, we were allowed to travel with him, to be with him in the room in just about every place he went, whether that was Steven Spielberg's home or whether it was, you know, movie stars' homes to do fundraisers. Back then, presidents gave us complete access. That changed with Trump. And just to give you a little history, Trump is somebody I covered from his first presidential campaign in 1999. He came to California. He allowed us to travel with him. He allowed me to hang out with him. He loved the media. He loved public relations. And after covering him for you know, a period of time, I actually got a letter from him. This just shows how much he changed from the time he got into politics to the time he left. I got a letter from him that said, gee, thank you so much for the coverage. And I got the letter right here. You have access to interview me anytime, even if you don't want it. So that kind of shows you how much he loved the media, how much he, you know, adored any kind of public relations back then. That was 1999, right? The last time I saw him was a couple of months just before the election. He came to California on the wildfires, and I asked him a question, and he yelled at me that was a nasty question. And why am I asking such nasty questions to him? He still needed the media, even in his final days in office, and he needs them now, actually, now that he's off Twitter. So when we talk about, like public relations and politicians and their sort of relationship with the media, it's often a love-hate relationship. Nobody sort of says that better than Donald Trump.
Well, I do want to ask a couple questions about Donald Trump, but one more question about Kamala. Do you see her continuing to break those glass ceilings and eventually hold the top spot? And then following up on that, I'd love to hear about Dianne Feinstein and whether or not, she's how she's doing.
Good point there. On Kamala Harris, yes, I think look, nobody can predict what kind of gaps may happen or headlines might happen between now and the next time we have an open presidential election. But that said, she is automatically the top candidate on the Democratic side. And I have no doubt she'll be challenged, but the fact is she is now preparing herself. She's having sit downs every week with the Secretary of State to up her game on foreign affairs, which was always sort of a weak point. She is now sort of increasing her portfolio. So you're going to see by the time the next election rolls around, and there's speculation, will Joe Biden run again? Is he too old? We'll see what happens there. But there's no question. We think she's going to be the top Democratic candidate. On Dianne Feinstein, well, she just got some bad news today, which was her poll numbers have really dropped. I mean, they are now, I think, 35% approval. That's the lowest we've ever seen for her. And that's based on some very hard stories that she's taken in recent months, particularly in the New Yorker, that had a story about how suggesting that she is, has dementia or has some kind of at least cognitive impairment. Look, she's 87. She's the oldest U.S. senator. But I think, and I remember, look, just even a couple of months back, being with her at events, she's really sharp. She's been really sharp. I remember at the Chronicle editorial boards, if you were sitting in with her, you better know your stuff and you better have your questions down, because she would come into the Chronicle editorial board and with her staff and her packets of papers and say, get me page 87, paragraph 2 on that report. I mean, she just knew the stuff like this. And if you didn't know it when you were asking her questions, you were in trouble. So she was very, very sharp. And okay, she's 87, but certainly she has a long list of things that she has done in office and a big legacy. And I think she's probably going to hang in there till her term is up, which is in 4 years. She may have to retire, given maybe her husband's health or her health, who knows. But she is no easy cookie in terms of taking her out. I don't think a couple of headlines are gonna convince her to leave that post. She's been super influential and super active as a U.S. senator. And but when she does decide to retire, boy, that is going to be a circus, because you're going to see a lot of Democrats elbowing each other for that job. That once a U.S. senator post in California is a golden ticket for life, pretty much. I mean, she's been in that job for 25 or 30 years. Barbara Boxer was before her the same. So it's a very safe seat.
So let's move on to some fun stuff. PR disasters for the last year. What are some?
And there's been so many.
What takes the top spot, and what do you think the PR practitioners that were advising these people did wrong?
Okay, yeah. I mean, a lot of you are crisis communications specialists. So actually, I'd be very interested to see how you would have handled the French laundry dinner, which I think is probably the PR disaster, the California PR disaster of the year. Why? Because it almost single-handedly fired up this recall. I mean, let's just be honest. You have the governor going to a party of a big lobbyist at the French Laundry. It wasn't some small, a diner. This was the most expensive restaurant in the state, probably. They had a $12,000 wine bill. It wasn't open really. One side was open, but that middle of a pandemic, while he's telling people to stay home. Bad optics all the way around. I am really curious to hear from anybody here who would tell me how he should have handled that. I mean, what he did was, the way he handled it was the way he handled one other big crisis in his political career, when there were revelations about him having an affair with a staffer. At that time, Gavin Newsom held a huge press conference at City Hall. There was 500 people there, and he just came out and said, you know what, everything you've read is true, and I'm really sorry. I screwed up. And that's pretty much what he did with the French Laundry. He said, you're right. You know, he didn't deny it. He didn't try to hide it once it came out. He said, I really screwed up. I shouldn't have been there. But that said, that story has not died in any way.
Well,
And
but it's interesting to compare that PR disaster to the many PR disasters with the Trump administration. And
Yeah.
it's interesting, like, why is he being held to the fire? It seems even more so, actually probably equivalent to some of the, inappropriate things we've learned about Trump.
Yeah, you have a very good point. I think in the Trump administration, there was so many PR fires, like every day we were waking up going, what is he saying on Twitter today? What kind of, what kind of craziness is out there today? And it was story after story after story. So some of the biggest stories that would have been massive under any other circumstances were completely buried. In Newsom's case, that came just as these recall people were collecting signatures, and it basically gave them the fuel they needed to keep going. I think that in the pandemic is continued. Although, and look, he's not the only politician, by the way, who's gone to events outside of, we have a story today about Kevin McCarthy, who was criticizing Newsom about that French Laundry dinner in the press. At the same time, he was going to his son's wedding down in Central California, no masks, etc. That story just came out today. So when it comes to this sort of let them eat cake thing, what's good for me is not good for thee sort of attitude, it's Republicans and Democrats on that issue. I have heard from politicians, and many of your clients probably are, have to be aware of this too. If they're famous or in any way in the news, they got to watch whether they're like out there. People are going to see them at dinner. People are going to see them breaking COVID or pandemic regulations. Some of the politicians have said to me, I can't go anywhere anymore. I can't go anywhere without, worrying about who's watching me. And it really is true. So I think Newsom does have the #1 PR disaster with French Laundry. But let me just say, #2, or a close #2, is the San Francisco School Board, because they are making headlines every day of the week, it seems like, with regard to some of their decisions in San Francisco. And they have become a complete target for the right wing now. They have renamed 44 schools, including Dianne Feinstein Elementary School, Abraham Lincoln, and every day there are more revelations about them not understanding who they were renaming schools for, or basics of history, issues like that. It's been interesting to watch how the San Francisco School Board has become a national story.
Well, it's interesting that, I see what you're saying, but I think that the school board story is a national story for any major city. Chicago, we're seeing that in Chicago as well, where
the way the San Francisco School Board has become the story is because of this whole idea of, they've sort of become the poster child for cancel culture, whatever, they decided to rename, Abraham Lincoln schools, etc. They have spent meetings talking about, getting rid of Lowell High School's admission standards. They've made a whole series of steps that has basically turned them into, a symbol for the cancel culture. And I think, and that's become a big story nationwide. So that's another PR disaster I would put up there.
We've got a couple other, we got a couple folks in the feed asking about the Employment Development Department scandal and why that hasn't, do you think it got enough attention, and why not?
That's another one that's a PR scandal, and PR, when you want to talk about horrible situation. That I think that why hasn't that? You're absolutely right. You're talking about billions of dollars that has gone out the door to unqualified people. And in normal circumstances, that's another story that would have been, nonstop media attention. But there's a couple reasons I think why not. One is the pandemic has just bigfooted every other story out there. It must be hard. It is hard to get any other story out there that isn't related to the pandemic in some way or form. The other issue there is it is a complicated story that requires investigative reporting. And we've seen in many cases, newspapers have collapsed around the state. And that has been a real issue with regard to in-depth coverage of some of these major stories coming out of Sacramento. I mean, we have seen the effects of newspapers and local newspapers dying around the country. And I think the EDD scandal is part of that issue. It is now getting attention, especially since Julie Su from the California Department of Labor has just been taken up to the Biden administration. She's going to face some confirmation hearings, and I think she's definitely going to get asked about that. That happened under her watch here in California. So I don't think you definitely haven't heard the end of the EDD story, and you're starting to see more and more details of how this happened and why. But you're absolutely right. When Newsom gets asked questions, it's usually about pandemic related issues and not about the EDD. And that is a little crazy considering the scope of that problem.
You talked a little bit about access and how, when Bill Clinton was president, you got unlimited access. And then when Trump came around, it was, much different.
Yeah.
How do you think Biden is going to be in terms of his access? And what do you think, like, how has he embraced the media so far? How is his press secretary doing, do you think? And is there room for improvement or change?
Well, we've already seen like huge change between the way the Trump administration dealt with the media and the way the Biden administration does. I mean, first of all, we've never seen an administration or a president who has talked about the media as being the enemy of the people, as being a negative, a completely negative and destructive force. I mean, he did that all the time, to the point where it was sometimes dangerous to cover, or felt dangerous to cover, Trump events. I mean, people would boo at you. People would, I've been to Trump events where his staff had come up to me and tried to eject me from the crowd to cover the events. That has never happened to me in my history of covering politics. I mean, it was a very contentious relationship between media and the Trump organization. And you saw that with Kayleigh McEnany, the press secretary, who would usually begin her daily briefings by telling media folks what they should be asking, criticizing their coverage. You're not seeing that with Jen Psaki, who's the press secretary for Biden. She sometimes comes back at the reporters, but she's usually very respectful to them. She seems to understand the job. And you all know from being in the communications business, how this works. Our job isn't to do public relations for the president. Our job is to, report the news. And sometimes that, they don't like what we're doing. But I think I've seen Jen Psaki, the Biden press secretary, understand that, and also seem to just go back to a much more traditional view of how things have been covered in the past. That is a good thing in my view. I think the idea that the media was the enemy of the people was dangerous to many of us who have been covering the news. So I think from what we've seen in the beginning, and from Kamala Harris's staff as well, we are going to see a change, but that doesn't mean we should stop asking questions about Biden or hard questions about the way he's running the country. And I think you're going to see that as well. We're going to go back to a much more traditional time, but I mean, it's been 4 years of completely ripping up the playbook when it comes to media and political relations in Washington. And maybe that will be repaired a little bit now that the Trump administration has ended.
With the battle against the media that he fought, did that ever impact you personally? Did you ever feel threatened by his supporters, or at risk for doing your job without worrying that you physical harm?
Yeah, Sarah. I mean, I have to say that sort of contentious attitude toward the media, I don't think Trump was the first. I remember seeing it with Sarah Palin, where covering her rallies, she would often say things like, and those media people back there, they're not going to write it. They're not going to be writing the truth. And people would turn around and boo at you or throw things at you. And that sort of just amplified a lot of times under the Trump administration. I remember going to a rally in San Jose covering Trump, and being there, interviewing people and being surrounded by security folks. And one of them said to me, you're here to disrupt this rally and you're going to have to leave. And I said, I'm a press person. I'm interviewing people. Luckily, I had somebody from the Republican Party sort of vouch for me. But the idea that they could actually toss you from a public event because they saw you as a disruptor instead of a press person was kind of shocking. That kind of issue and actually covering the president in person, as I have done also since he's been president. My last sort of event with him where he called me nasty, I just sort of, let me just say, covering him when he comes in on Air Force One, my goal was to try to get a question to him from 300 feet away. And I knew how much he loved a bank of cameras. So as he was coming off Air Force One, my final moment with him was to just yell at him across the tarmac, Mr. President, come on over here. And he saw me waving at him and he came right over. He was a guy who was drawn to cameras, but at the same time had this sort of love-hate relationship with them. And that was just so interesting to watch. So it wasn't the case with Mike Pence, who had much more traditional view of the media. So now that he's off Twitter and now that he's off social media, it's been so quiet, but it's going to be interesting to see how he now communicates with his followers. And some of it is going on through his family members on Instagram, but that may not fill the bill anymore. And it's going to be fascinating to watch how that morphs into whatever is the next generation of Trump and his followers.
Who do you see as a rising star in California politics?
I think, it's going to be, this recall may show us who some of these rising stars are, but I think you're seeing them in some of the members of Congress, for instance. Katie Porter, who's a House member from Southern California, is just a huge hit, in part because of the way that she has approached communication. She gets up there in Congress with a whiteboard. She is very aggressive in her questioning of witnesses and has her communication skills down. She's got people who understand what that's about, and they put it out on social media, and she's relentless on that front. So I think Katie Porter is somebody we're going to see more of. In the Bay Area, Eric Swalwell is somebody who has been, I've covered him since he was a Dublin City Council person. He was considered a long shot for Congress. He has made himself into somebody who is a social media star from the beginning. It's the ones who understand, I think a lot, in many cases among younger members of the political scene and of Congress, it's the ones who understand social media and how that has changed the whole game for them. And that's changed the game for me. Since I first got into covering politics, today it is in a large part, and certainly what you all do in a large part, it's about Twitter. You know, I know DC Doozy is on the, and I communicate with some of you. It's true via Twitter. That is where we in the media get many of our tips. That is where we get many of our, you know, communicate with those rising stars. And so I think when you're talking about rising stars in politics, it's some of those people who have understood the value of Twitter, of Facebook, of Instagram, of TikTok. And, you know, if I have to name some of them, among them would be Long Beach Mayor Robert Garcia. He's LGBT, he's Latino, but he has become very, very popular on social media. He's somebody who was talked about being the next US Senator before Alex Padilla was named. I think Alex Padilla is a definite rising star. He's only 43. He just became the US Senator, filling Kamala Harris's seat. He's got little kids. And I think he's somebody, if you notice, go to Twitter, he's on there every day talking about his experiences in Washington, bringing his kids, bringing his family there, swearing in. He understands social media very, very well. He's another good example of social media. I think Ro Khanna, who's a congressman in Silicon Valley, of course, he represents the tech constituency there, but he also has an interesting profile, being an Indian American, a Hindu, and somebody who it puts it out there in terms of his ethnic background and his Silicon Valley roots. And yeah, you know, he was a big Bernie supporter, and I think you're going to see a lot more of him as well. He's been very, very effective on social media and in connecting with his constituents. So I think social media is the key in a lot of respects in terms of who's a rising star and who's not in California.
Get your Twitter accounts going. So on the opposite side, two questions. A, who needs help with their communications? Who is just like, it's just like digging a hole for themselves every single day. And then I'll go to another question. And are your DMs open?
Yeah, I think they are. I better check. But when I get off this call, I'll make them open. Just please hit me at any time, or I'm at email at cmarinucci@politico.com. Let's see who's terrible at it. I got to think about that. There's a couple of California legislators and people who are just not on social media at all. And, you know, they should be, you know, Feinstein has gotten a lot better, but of course her staff does a lot of the stuff on social media. I should mention somebody else who's really, really good at it and has become sort of a major star on social media over the years is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the way that he trends it so often by putting himself out there. And he did this recently when the mass vaccination sites started. He was trying to get a vaccine. He didn't want to jump in line, his person told me, in front of other people, but he wanted to get one. And I sent a note to his guy and said, you know what, you should use that line from the Terminator, "Come with me if you want to live." And they ended up doing that. He went to Dodger Stadium, he drove there. He waited in line like everybody else. He photographed, he YouTubed himself getting the vaccine and said, "Come with me if you want to live." And it went viral. And he's done that a number of times using not only his Terminator persona, but to the benefit of like nonprofits and sort of social causes. He also talked about the January 6th Capitol insurrection, invasion, and in very personal terms, and what it meant to him as somebody who grew up in the shadow of Nazi Germany. And I think, you know, he's just been very, very open about putting himself out there. That he has been a sort of social media hero in some respects.
Do you think he'd ever run for office again?
I don't think he can't run for president. He cannot run for president because he wasn't born in this country. I don't think he's going to run for office again. But I do think he has used his persona to really good effect, as has his ex-wife, Maria Schreiber, who as First Lady of California, she was extremely effective, and she's continuing to do that today. So I think, you know, when you're talking about who's good at public relations, I gotta think about who's really bad at.
How about London Breed? What are your thoughts on
London
her?
London Breed is very good at it, and I'll give you an example. She recently made a big deal of opening that mass vaccination site at Moscone Center.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm over 65 myself, and I said, I'm going to sign up for this. It's myturn.ca.gov. I got an appointment right away. I went down there, and if any of you haven't gotten vaccinations yet, you got to go to Moscone Center. You're in and out in 15 minutes. It's the most organized, efficient, I think, site in California, and they're doing thousands of these a day. And so she has, you know, delivered on that respect. I think you got to give her props for that. And is out there on social media, has good relations with the media. She's taken some hits here and there, but makes herself available, I got to say. A lot of mayors do. Libby Schaaf is another one in Oakland who's very, very good about that. I think San Ricardo in San Jose is another one. An interesting sort of sidelight into when you talk about rising stars in California, but somebody who suffered at the hands of social media was the mayor of Stockton, Michael Tubbs, who was only 26 when he was elected to that job, major mayor of California. And he was defeated this year because there was a blog and a post on social media, Facebook, that was just sort of dedicated to attacking him. And with the collapse of local newspapers in Stockton, as there has been, that site had tremendous power, and he was defeated for election. So that was kind of a shock. He was a rising star in California.
How do you think politicians should approach and communicate there's going to be obvious challenge to people leaving major cities? I mean, people talk about San Francisco, office buildings becoming empty. Salesforce is now letting people permanently work from home 2 days a week. Like, how that is going to have an economic impact on all of those businesses that kind of filter out from.
So true. So true. And, you know, it's interesting because when we talk about PR wins, let me just mention, I think Brian Chesky from Airbnb had a good example recently, because I posted the question on Twitter to him, and so did Heather Knight from the Chronicle. Hey, is your business going to leave too? You know, Elon Musk has talked about leaving and so forth. And Chesky went on Twitter and said, you know what, the city has been so important to me. I came here when I was 26. I started a business where you could sleep in your friends, you know, on your friend's couch. Yeah. And California has been really good to me. I'm not going anywhere. And that post went viral. He made that announcement on Twitter. So when you talk about like how to handle this issue, you know, Elon Musk has been completely the opposite. In fact, I don't even think Elon Musk has no public relations whatsoever, as far as I can.
Fired them all. He fired his entire public relations department.
Yeah. And he is an example of a sort of a new breed of CEOs and some politicians who live on social media exclusively. They don't have any interest in having, which I think is a mistake. You know, that's I think not the way to go when you're talking about getting out public relations from our point of view. And this is where I can, you know, I love working with you folks, because you help us get the information we need or introduce us to stories. A lot of you are storytellers like we are, and you just do it in a different way, and you're telling stories of people who deserve to be out there in one way or the other. To not have any kind of public relations is kind of a bizarre thing. But for Elon Musk, who, you know, he's now the richest guy on the planet, I guess it works for now, but I think at some point it may not. And also, you know, you can't complain if false information or inaccurate information is getting out there if you have no one to address that information. So yes, there are there are a lot of politicians who are very, very good, and that is the key in your business as well as my business, getting back fast response. Like when you have an idea and you're pitching an idea to me, you're hoping I get back to you quickly. I mean, and when I go to anybody in your business, I'm hoping for a fast response because we're always on deadlines. And if a story's hot, I need to get to somebody now. And if you get back to me, your person is in my story. And if you don't, it's too late. Tomorrow may be too late because the story's already out. So that's sort of where we work together. And that's where sometimes I think business people and politicians don't get it. On your story about on your question on how do you keep people from leaving, I think that is a sort of a storyline that's hit California over the last year. You know, people are leaving. It's it's terrible here. This story comes in around, as somebody who's done this now for 30 years, story comes in and out. And I think many people who've been here for a while, we've seen that movie before, that people are leaving California, they hate it.
So I'm going to ask you a question. We'll go back to national politics. But I've been trying to interject with some questions from the chat, but I'll let Molly jump in after this question if she finds any questions that I didn't attack, so she can relay those. But my question for you is what are we going to see next from Donald Trump? A lot of what we've been seeing, hearing is that, he is really, everybody has to kind of continue to pay attention and pay homage to him because he has such a strong base that nobody else has a handle on. And how will he rear his head?
I think that's a very good question, particularly here in California, because you have the minority leader, Kevin McCarthy here, who is absolutely sticking with Trump. I mean, who is being very, very loyal to him. The Republican Party here had some gains in the last election. They won 4 House seats. They managed to beat back some ballot measures that they wanted to beat back. But look, California is, as we said, overwhelmingly Democratic. They're not going to be allowed, and so at this point you have Kevin McCarthy and many of the Republicans here in California who voted along with Kevin McCarthy against impeachment. Only one Republican here in the entire House delegation voted for impeachment. That was David Valadao. He got a lot of heat. At this point, they are aligned with Trump, and that means they have sort of a dangerous tightrope to walk when it comes to their futures here in California, because Trump is historically unpopular here in California. I mean, his approval ratings are in the low 30s, and anybody who's supportive of him or has had pictures with him or any of these guys who want to run for governor, the pictures of them, right next to Trump at the lunch, it's all going to come up, and that's going to be made. That's a big issue. So what's going to happen with Trump? I don't think he's done. I think he will find some kind of media outlet, and one of the ones that has been talked about is right here in California called OAN, One America Network.
Yeah. Super
conservative, and I'm going to say right out, a propaganda network that is not a news network. It is when you want to talk about fake news, that it is an example of just a propaganda network. A lot of their news is just not based in reality.
Yeah.
But Trump has been very, very favorable to these guys. It's a very conservative group of people. And he may well align with them or with some other media outlet. He certainly has the microphone, and now there is something, a certain like 30% of people out there, who are rabidly into Donald Trump. And let's face it, most of the Republicans, 80% or more, are still see him very, very favorably. So I don't think he's finished by a long shot.
Molly, are there any questions that I may have not seen come through?
Yeah, we did one. Deborah Charlesworth asks, how do you think the $2.7 billion lawsuit against Fox will influence political coverage?
Oh, that's a good one, because that is a historic lawsuit, and these the makers of the voting machines have basically put a line in the sand. Okay, you're going to lie about us every day. We are going to sue you, and I'm interested to watch who got sued. I mean, one of the Fox anchors who got sued was Maria Bartiromo, who, as an Italian American journalist coming up, I like admired her no end, and she has sort of devolved into this. I don't call her a journalist anymore. She is often reporting things that are just not true.
She was the money honey, wasn't she?
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
money honey back in the 90s.
Yeah, was she really? Is that right? But the bottom line is, I mean, she was for a long time an incredible journalist, and that isn't the case anymore. On the issue of the voting machines and Dominion, etc., the continual false reporting about fraud. She just continued to push that story, and still is it today. And Fox has made her a major anchor. So what's going to happen with that case? I think that has sent a chill through Fox News. We've seen some of the interviews that they've done since then, where they have put a stop to anybody talking about fraud. You know, basically, it's not a true story. There is no basis in fact for that story, and I think that they have been, called to account for it. Does that mean Fox News is going to, completely change its coverage? No. Yesterday, when we were looking at this historic hearing about impeachment, and they were showing those incredibly chilling videos for the first time ever from the House, from the Capitol building, Fox News was not broadcasting those. They were broadcasting something completely different. Other channels were broadcasting it. Fox News did not. So I think that is a example of how, they've taken account with these lawsuits, but they haven't changed completely.
Any other questions?
So there was an interesting one from Jan Potts, a little different. I live in Swalwell's district and support him, but there are grumblings on the left that maybe somebody else who could be more effective. That surprises her, but she says the source is solid. Do you hear this?
Oh, that's interesting. Tell her to DM me after this is over. But look, I think taking out Swalwell would be a very tough thing to do. He is a very good fundraiser. He's a favorite of Nancy Pelosi, as evidenced by the fact that he was named as an impeachment manager. As I said, he was one of the youngest members of Congress, and he has been just a superstar on social media. Whether he's liberal enough or progressive enough for some of the people in his district, I think this is where Gavin Newsom and every other Democrat we're going to see is going to get some kind of challenge from the left, as Dianne Feinstein did in her last race. It's the progressive Bernie wing of the party that is basically going to let its voice be heard. So yeah, there may be a challenge from the left from Swalwell, but taking out an incumbent congressman who is such a good fundraiser and so well known nationwide is probably a long shot at best, I would say. But tell her to DM anyway.
So from Vivian Auslander, interesting, because you've been talking about the wonders of Twitter, and I agree, but Vivian says, I'd like the press to focus more on the dangers of social media.
Oh, yeah. Listen, anytime I talk to a group like this, or anytime I talk to a student group, my first message is, your job, your business can be lost in one day with one tweet. I mean, that's how it is. One tweet can cost you everything you've ever done. So you have to be very, very careful. And I never use Twitter to attack people, as much as I would love to sometimes, or, people are insulting you. And I have to say, I mean, Twitter is just, it's horrible in many ways. People will say all kinds of things about you. They will get very, very personal. They'll tell you, you need a new haircut or facelift, or you need to lose 20 pounds. And they're out there telling you everything. And you just have to basically shine that on, fine, okay, and not respond. So, I mean, I have a situation going today on Twitter where last night I called out the governor's Facebook page because his message on his Facebook page was we're going to vaccinate, everybody in California. It said, including peasants. That was the message. I don't know the exact, but it turned out it had been, his Facebook message had been auto-translated on Facebook from Spanish. And peasants in Spanish is campesinos, which means kind of farm laborers, etc. But in English, it translated him saying that we were going to vaccinate peasants, which had like a real Marie Antoinette kind of feel to it. I mean, it's like peasants, what is that? So I put it on Twitter. I said, what is this? We're going to vaccinate peasants? What is that? And immediately started to go viral. And the governor's office called me within about 3 minutes because it was getting like hundreds of retweets. And they were like, can you take that down? That wasn't us. It was Facebook. They translated it. And I said, look, it's up there. I can't pretend it's not up there. You're going to have to take it down yourself. Finally, and literally within 5 minutes, I got 5 calls from them. But you don't understand, it's going viral. They think we did this, we didn't do this. So it was sort of a bad scene for them because it was going viral. In the end, what I did was delete the tweet, but then I retweeted the screenshot and said, look, the governor's office says, they did not do this translation. It's sort of a tale of caution for all of you. Like, my feeling is the governor's office, if they're using auto translation on Facebook, or if any of you are, you got to check what Facebook is putting up, because apparently nobody's watching this, and their message was up there for hours, I guess, before I called it out on Twitter. That's some of the dangers of social media. That is, there's auto-translate, auto-correct. There's all kinds of ways your message is out there on social media. If you're not monitoring it at every moment, there can be a major screw up, and it's not good for your business, right? And this was the case for the governor's office last night. Apparently nobody was looking at the auto-translation for hours. And I think maybe right now it still says, we're going to vaccinate peasants in California. but after doing that, I got just attacked by all kinds of people on the left who said, you're a Tucker Carlson plant and you're trying to destroy the governor. And then I got a lot of people on the right telling me that I was just a tool of the Democratic Party. It's like that kind of thing. Any given day on social media, I guess when you talk about the dangers, the danger is that you're going to set off the hordes, and it is a really ugly thing when that happens. And and what I do is just sit it out. I do not respond to any insults, any provocations, any of that stuff. And I absolutely never use Twitter to insult people or throw back at them. It's just not worth it in any way.
No Twitter battles from you. Are there any Twitter accounts that you think that are a must follow if we're interested in keeping our finger on the pulse of California politics?
Well, I see Marinucci.
Outside of yours.
I think, look, any of the major reporters that, we have a whole Politico staff. Depending on what you cover or what your clients are into, I absolutely think, major media folks are who I cover. If you look at our playbook every day, there are a lot of the main reporters that are driving what's going on in California. And I think those are good. I would also support local media. The Chronicle is where I worked for 25 years before I went to Politico. Heather Knight, who is there, is just a tremendous reporter. And a lot of the reporters, their veteran reporters just left. Phil Matier, Willie Brown just left, a number of others. But there's still a lot of good folks there, and you got to support your local media, whatever your local newspaper is. Follow those people, keep in touch with them. And I would just say that, you know, the thing that has kept us and public relations folks, you know, working together all these years is the relationships that we have. It's really important. Make sure to establish those relationships through media folks. Through Twitter is often the best way. You follow them, they follow you. You can talk to them directly, and that it's one other way to establish relationships with people. I've done it a number of times, and that kind of relationship is really important to our business, is important to yours too. I can't tell you how many times I've turned to some of you folks for stories that may not be directly related to any clients that you have, but it's because I know you all, and hey, do you know anybody in Petaluma, whatever, who could tell me this? That's the kind of relationship it's important to have. And I think that's why I'm so happy to be able to talk to you guys today, because what you all do is really important to what we all do. We couldn't in many ways produce the news that we do without you all out there. So I thank you every day for being in public relations and communications and getting your stories out there. Those stories are important. And don't just, I mean, remember that organizations like Politico have many platforms that many of them are super granular in terms of how, you know, the kind of audience they go to. Politico has 22 different platforms. We cover special newsletters that cover technology, healthcare, lobbying, education, transportation, a number of different specialties that go to very high-end clients. And, you know, maybe your clients might not end up in the Politico playbook, but there'd be a great deal of interest in what they do in a lot of the specialty newsletters that we do. So keep that in mind. Feel free to contact me anytime if you have any doubts about, you know, maybe where your story might want to land, and I'll certainly be there to help.
Well, I just want to thank you from everyone for joining us today. This was really an interesting conversation, and I'm sure that you have lots of juicy, you know, things that you've experienced in your career that we'd love to pick your brain about. Maybe when we're back in real person, we'll invite you to a cocktail and get the real juicy stories.
Thank you, Molly, for the invite. It's always good to be with you guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Passing it back to Molly.
Thank you so much. I think I actually reached Carla via Twitter in the first place. So I would just say that, you know, I kept writing to her. She wasn't writing back. So, and I've done that before.
Thank you for being patient. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's what PR people are patient. I mean, you gotta be.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Okay.
Yeah, but you were wonderful, and you did respond, and direct message is amazing. But sometimes I've just written people directly, and it works. It's amazing. Thank you so much for those. We had a few more questions, needless to say, but you can reach Carla. And thank you, Sarah. That was terrific. There is so much going on, and it was all very timely. So thank you. So wow. And now we strongly suggest that you head over to our online auction at 32auctions.com/SFPRRT 2021 and complete your bidding. We've extended the closing to 4 o'clock, as we said. And if you have any trouble, please check in with us. We will be happy to help you. And there's our slides going by right now. The PR Roundtable at 82 is one of the nation's oldest organizations of senior level PR and communications practitioners. We would love you to join us as a member. Visit us at sfprrt.org and click on membership, or contact our membership chair, Sarah Siegel, at membership@sfprrt.org for more information, or me, or any of us. Just a final note, the Roundtable hosts frequent events during the year featuring local media and PR personalities like we did today. Please watch for our notices and plan to join us at our events. Thank you again to our donors, and a special thanks to Pat Harden and all of you for joining us today and helping us raise funds for our Philip and McCombs Scholarship Program. We look forward to letting you know who we select for this year for our scholarship program. And we'll have another lunch, but I think our first lunch, our first virtual lunch was our scholarship program. It would be wonderful if we could have it not virtually, but we'll see how that goes. Please let us know what you thought about our event when we send you our survey. And stay safe. And thank you. And happy Valentine's Day to all of you. It's been very special. Thanks for coming.
Thank you all.
Thank
Great
you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Bye, thanks.
Great
Molly,
program.
everyone.